Chloe's barbecue is more important, Anya. You understand, right? Sunlight blazed through the stained glass church window, painting fractured colors on the floor. My hands trembled, clutching the phone like a lifeline about to snap. The joyous organ music felt like a cruel joke. Moments earlier, that dismissive voice confirmed everything. Another milestone, another opportunity to choose her. My stomach dropped. Always Chloe. I remembered Grandma Linda's words, whispered years ago. Some people don't know the value of what they have right in front of them. The scent of lilies, so carefully arranged, suddenly felt suffocating. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I remained composed. Ever feel invisible? Yeah, me too. Hit like and follow for the full story. Trust me, it gets wilder. You won't believe how this wedding day turns around. Undervalued, you'll love this. October 1997. Christmas morning. 10-year-old Chloe unwrapped a sleek silver digital camera, its flash reflecting off her beaming face. For your nature photography, sweetie, Mom gushed, adjusting Chloe's perfectly placed bow. Meanwhile, I received a set of watercolor paints, the cheap kind that chipped after one use. A shrug from Dad, you like art, right? The scent of pine needles and cinnamon couldn't mask the sour taste of indifference. A few years later, the disparity deepened. While Chloe was given a brand new car for her sweet 16, I received a bus pass. The keys practically glittered as Chloe sped away. While they celebrated Chloe's new freedom, I was left standing in the cold. The final straw came during my junior year of high school. Chloe wrecked her car, drunk. Instead of punishment, she received sympathy. I was blamed for stressing her out with my academic achievements. If you hadn't been so competitive, Chloe wouldn't have needed to let off steam, my mother accused. That night, Chloe, emboldened, pushed me down the stairs. The pain was excruciating, the betrayal absolute. While I lay broken, they comforted my attacker. The sterile hospital smell became the scent of abandonment. The ensuing years were a blur of ramen noodles and all-nighters. No new clothes, no spring break trips, no parental safety net. Just relentless work and the burning desire to prove them wrong. I took on freelance design projects, squeezing them between classes, fueled by cheap coffee and raw determination. Each successful project was a brick, slowly building a fortress of independence. My grandpa George, bless his soul, would call every week, offering encouragement and a listening ear. You're stronger than they give you credit for, Anya, he'd say, his voice crackling with warmth. Those calls were lifelines, reminding me that I wasn't alone, that someone believed in me. I landed a coveted internship at a top design firm downtown. It was a grueling schedule, but I thrived. My designs were innovative, fresh, and most importantly, noticed. I was building something real, something mine, a foundation for a life they couldn't touch. By graduation, I had a job offer on the table, a real career finally within reach. This, I realized, was only the beginning. Years melted into a whirlwind of professional growth. Each promotion, each award, each high-profile client felt like a small, silent victory. I intentionally kept my successes hidden, a strategic silence. No announcements on social media, no boasting during infrequent phone calls. Let them believe I was still the same overlooked Anya, the afterthought. The contrast was stark. Chloe, meanwhile, seemed to drift through life, bouncing from one failed venture to another, always with her parents ready to pick up the pieces. Another failed relationship. Another car accident. Always, Anya was supposed to be the help. Another business loan guaranteed. The expectation of my failure fueled me further. I relished the quiet satisfaction of proving them wrong, one achievement at a time. Then, one day, came an invitation to a gala, a prestigious event for the city's top designers. My firm was sponsoring it, and I was assigned to handle the event's branding. It was a huge opportunity, a chance to network with industry titans. But it came with a catch. My parents were on the guest list, invited by Chloe's new boyfriend, a wealthy real estate developer. My heart pounded. The possibility of revelation hung heavy in the air. Should I decline the assignment, risk jeopardizing my career, or face them finally on my own terms? No, this wasn't about them. This was about me, about all the work, the sweat, and the tears I'd poured into building this life. I would go, not for them but for myself. The gala invitation spurred action. I booked a session with a stylist, something I hadn't done since. Never, a sleek emerald green gown replaced my usual black blazer. High heels, something I never wore, added inches to my height. I practiced my practice smile, my "it's nice to meet you" voice. Time to play a part. The ballroom shimmered. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow on the assembled elite. The air buzzed with hushed conversations and the clinking of champagne glasses. I scanned the crowd. There, Chloe, clinging to a man old enough to be her grandfather, and my parents hovered nearby, looking utterly out of place. My pulse quickened. As I approached, my mother's eyes widened in recognition. Anya. She gasped, her voice laced with disbelief. Is that really you? Her gaze swept over my expensive dress, my professionally styled hair. A flicker of something akin to envy crossed her face. Dad stared, speechless. Chloe, oblivious, continued to giggle at something her sugar daddy said. Hello, mother, father, I said, my voice cool and composed. It's been a while. The subtle tremor in my hand threatened to betray my carefully constructed facade. I tightened my grip on my champagne glass. Stay calm. I could hear Grandpa George's voice. You got this? Chloe finally turned, her expression shifting from vacant amusement to stunned silence. Anya, what are you doing here? The question hung in the air, thick with unspoken accusations. I was not supposed to be here. I work for the firm sponsoring the event, I replied, deliberately casual. I designed the event's branding, actually. I watched their faces, savoring the moment of realization. The years of silent work had culminated in this, a public display of my success, a stark contrast to their expectations. You're successful, Dad stammered, his eyes darting around the room as if searching for an explanation. I almost laughed, oblivious still. The evening wore on, a surreal dance of forced smiles and polite conversation. They peppered me with questions, desperate to understand the person I had become. Why didn't you tell us? Mom asked, her voice tinged with hurt. The irony was almost unbearable. You never asked, I replied softly, turning to leave. A charity auction for an animal shelter suddenly felt more appealing. As I walked away, I heard my mother call out, We're having a family reunion next month at Chloe's house. You should come. The invitation hung in the air, a tempting yet treacherous offer. The reunion's location was significant, Chloe's newly renovated brownstone, a monument to their unwavering support. It was a test, a measure of how far I was willing to bend. Days before the reunion, a memory surfaced. Chloe, a toddler, receiving a mountain of presents while my birthday went unnoticed. Later, Grandpa's words again rang in my ears, It's your life to live. That made up my mind. I spent the morning preparing. Not emotionally, but strategically. A donation to a local animal shelter, followed by a quiet dinner with Ben and my chosen family, the Mercers. The family reunion was a closed chapter. The week of the reunion brought a flurry of calls and texts. We miss you, Anya. Chloe wants to see you. It won't be the same without you. Each message felt like a carefully crafted manipulation, designed to guilt me into submission. I ignored them all, focusing on my work, on my life, on the things that truly mattered. Finally, the day arrived. A text from my mother, We're saving you a seat. A wave of nausea washed over me. This was it, the moment of truth. My response was simple, a single thumbs-up emoji. Then I turned my phone off. Instead of driving to the suburbs, I went to my office. The building was quiet on a Saturday, the only sounds the hum of the air conditioning and the gentle tapping of my fingers on the keyboard. I had a deadline to meet, a new branding campaign for a major tech company. This was my priority, my focus. Hours passed. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across my desk. I was in the zone, lost in the creative process. Suddenly, a knock on the door startled me. Come in, I said, my voice slightly hoarse. The door opened, and standing there were my parents. Behind them, Chloe, her face a mask of confusion. A wave of satisfaction washed over me. They had come to me. Anya, my mother began, her voice trembling. We were worried when you didn't show up. I leaned back in my chair, my expression calm, almost amused. Worried or curious? Chloe stepped forward, her eyes narrowed. What is this place? She demanded, gesturing around the sleek, modern office. I stood up, smoothing down my skirt. This, I said, my voice clear and steady, is my office, the headquarters of Anya Petrova Designs. I paused, letting the words sink in. I'm the CEO. My father's jaw dropped. My mother gasped, clutching her chest. Chloe's face contorted in disbelief. The silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the hum of the air conditioning. I watched their reactions with a detached amusement, like observing characters in a play. They stared at the modern decor, the awards displayed on the shelves, the framed articles featuring my work. The concrete evidence of my success was undeniable, impossible to dismiss. CEO. Chloe finally sputtered, her voice laced with venom. But how? I smiled, a genuine smile this time, not the practiced one I had worn at the gala. Through hard work, dedication, and a complete lack of your help, I replied, letting the sarcasm drip from my voice. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a deadline to meet. It was enlightening. I turned back to my computer, dismissing them without another word. The power had irrevocably shifted. I was no longer the overlooked Anya, the afterthought. I was the architect of my own destiny, and they were simply spectators. The silence stretched, amplified by the sterile office hum. I swiveled my chair slightly, feigning absorption in my monitor. Inside, a tempest raged, a mixture of vindication and simmering resentment. They wanted a show, here it is. My father cleared his throat, a sound that echoed awkwardly in the vast space. Anya, your mother and I have been discussing your success. We were wondering if maybe you could lend Chloe a hand with her new business venture. She has great ambitions. I didn't turn. Ambitions are cheap, father. Capital is not. Perhaps Chloe should learn to earn her own. You laughed then. You're not laughing now. We also wanted to formally invite you to a cruise, Anya, mother interjected, attempting to steer the conversation toward a more amicable route. It's all expenses paid. Think of it as a family vacation, a chance to reconnect. I finally pivoted back, my gaze locking with my mother's. Reconnect? After all these years of selective amnesia, I doubt it. I paused, letting my words resonate. Besides, my plate is full. Paying my own bills, for example. I turned back to my monitor, ending the discussion. Chloe, who had been uncharacteristically silent, finally spoke. You think you're so much better than us, don't you? The question dripped with bitterness. Without turning, I offered my one-liner. Better? No. Independent? Absolutely. Then, I added, now, if you don't mind, you're blocking my light. They lingered for a moment, a tableau of stunned disbelief, then slowly retreated, defeated. As the door clicked shut, I finally exhaled, the weight of years of resentment lifting from my shoulders. The gala was a prelude. This was the encore. As they shuffled toward the exit, my mother pivoted. Anya, there's something else. Your grandfather George, he altered his will. You're the sole inheritor of his company, Petrova Holdings. The words hit them like a physical blow. Chloe stumbled, grabbing the doorframe for support. My father's face drained of color. Even I was stunned, the revelation cutting through my carefully constructed composure. Petrova Holdings, it wasn't just some small business. It was a multi-million-dollar enterprise, controlling several key manufacturing plants in the Midwest. I knew Grandpa was successful, but I never grasped the extent of his empire. A gasp escaped Chloe's lips. That's impossible, he promised. I swiveled to face them, my mind racing. This was beyond anything I could have imagined, a level of control I hadn't anticipated. A carefully orchestrated trap, a final, posthumous act of defiance against their neglect. He understood who truly valued family, I stated, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. And more importantly, who was worthy of it. This wasn't just about inheritance. It was about legacy, about control, about something they fundamentally needed, access. My father took a step forward, his eyes pleading. Anya, you don't understand. Petrova Holdings. It's essential to Chloe's business. Her new venture relies on parts manufactured by your grandfather's company. Without them, I raised a hand, cutting him off. Then I suggest Chloe find another supplier, or perhaps prove to me why I should prioritize her needs over my own. I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in. This wasn't just about money, it was about power, about holding the keys to their future success. The hunted had become the hunter. Their faces were masks of shock and dawning realization. They had underestimated me, dismissed me for years. Now I held their fate in my hands. I smiled, a genuine smile this time, a smile that reflected not just success, but absolute, unyielding control. Thank you for stopping by, I said, turning back to my computer. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. Years later, looking back, the fallout was minimal. They made half-hearted attempts to reconnect. Invitations to holidays met with polite declines. My life blossomed, a vibrant tapestry woven with love, success, and genuine connection. The constant need for external validation faded, replaced by a deep-seated sense of self-worth. Before, I measured my value by their approval. Now I define myself. In the end, their actions had inadvertently gifted me something invaluable, the freedom to choose my own family and build a life on my own terms. I am whole. Relate, you can rise above. Don't let bitterness win. Share this for others needing strength. See the value in your life now.